Hello and welcome to the start of your Colorful People project. And one of the things that you're going to need to know first and foremost is how to image select. So the first part of this assignment is to gather up images from National Geographic magazines and cut out interesting images for you. 2 of them must be people. You're going to use 3 to 5 images total, and you are probably going to start out with roughly 10 images to work with so that you can select down to what you are most interested in. Okay, to start with, let's take a look at the images I've selected here. This came out of 3 or 4 different magazines, but I have a jet, a lionfish, a lady in cultural garb, this small child with a soldier's hat, this guy, soldier, Buddhist monk. We've got all these images that we've gathered up, and now we need to do something with them. Well, organizing an image is not exactly easy. For your combination of people, you're going to have them interacting in a way that makes visual sense. To leave them clustered up like this is really not what you're after, but to space them out so that they're just separate or individual like that, that's not working either. They're too evenly spaced, they're not overlapping or interacting in any way, there's no balance or weight to what we've got. So the way I might look at this if I was sorting through images is to start to push things aside and move things around. This guy is sitting. Naturally his back would probably fall into this corner of the picture. She tends to have a straight back that might look good against this side of the paper, and she's looking up and away. This guy right here in the middle, he's the most dominant image. He's the largest selection that I've made. If he is left right here like this, obviously I didn't get the legs of this child. He's going to be floating if I don't do something else with him. So I'm going to take him all the way down to the bottom and align him with that edge. From then, I'm going to kind of look at where I could fit this guy in. Possibly right here, overlapping, putting him in the background. I would look at and maybe shrinking him in size, actually, if it's a possibility for us. The lionfish I'll redraw, but I cut him out loosely so that we can have him in there. The Boeing jet is an interesting depiction that gives kind of a motion going upwards and to the side, but you could also bring in this guy here like this. What I accidentally found while I was cutting out these images is a story in the image, and I want you to select roughly 10 to 15 images to pick from so that you can develop your own scenario or story that's occurring with these people you've cut out for the Colorful People project. Remember that these are only references. We may be increasing or decreasing their size, and that's possible. But to start with, we've got enough to work a composition right now. So as I selected these people, I found I have almost a mom and pop like feel to this. A mother figure, a father figure, a child figure, a religious figure, and then we got the lionfish in the corner. Now, the way I might weave a story out of this is to look and say, okay, what is this really about? Well, this could be about generational war or going off to war, something that in a Navy town here we understand that, right? The mother in the corner, she's dressed in all cultural garb, traditional, and this guy is kind of facing away from us. We have a spot of eye contact here that's occurring. It's kind of hard to believe, but these are 2 entirely separate pictures from different magazines, but yet we have this eye contact that we can line up there. He's distant, he's moving away, the child is emulating the father's behavior, he's got the soldier hat on, and we have this monk guy in the corner. Well, he's looking up too, that gives us a line there. We've got a lionfish, and that's kind of a random element, but lionfish generally take over the population of other fish. They're kind of rampant predators that eat the eggs of fish that might otherwise flourish. So you've got this sort of predatory factor right there, and this could be tied in loosely to the effects of war or the prolific nature of generational war, war being passed down from father to son. You can get pretty deep with this just by randomly selecting some pictures. By bringing in the Boeing jet somewhere in this, you could be talking about countries that are maybe not as technologically advanced, and what that means for them or the implications there on their livelihood. I'm probably going to end up tossing this jet. I really like it, but remember that you want to keep it limited to 5 images maximum. If you do any more than that, it gets a little convoluted. It gets a little too much. So I'm going to toss the jet. Next, I want to talk to you about your potential border. Well, this is the idea or planning stage. We haven't really gone into exactly what we can do with the border, and I don't want you to think too far ahead with this. I want you to just instead imagine where your lines might be. We're going to use borders and boundaries in order to create a more three-dimensional aspect to this collage when we go back through and we draw it and we add our design pattern to the people. We need something to ground us. These, you've seen the final product. They're very, very wild. We need something that is going to keep us firmly planted, and that's what this black border is all about. So I quickly just drew this in here to give you an idea of what could be done. The father breaking the pattern here. I'd like to shrink the father down so he fit within the context of the box and just have the little child ahead of this boundary line. Sitting the monk right in the corner, letting him rest a weight into that corner is nice and neat. Lionfish up in the corner there. That's how I might start organizing this information. How you organize your information is crucial. Drawing skill, shading ability, painting ability, whatever. None of that really matters unless you have control over your imagery and you have an understanding of placement. And placement is really key. Before we get any further in this project, you must find interesting subject matter and find interesting placement. So there's a certain weight that's occurring within this image. This guy and this girl are roughly equal weights. He's a little heavy and he's leaning the balanced weight on this side, but the fish on this corner kind of makes up for that. This is what you call asymmetrical balance. Okay? It's not symmetrical balance. Symmetrical balance would be, if everything was perfect and if you split it, one half would be the same as the other half. That's not the case here. We have a dynamic picture that is going to take on, dynamic action, but it can still be balanced. It's all about how proportional your weightage is. So, to give you an example of that, let's just flip it over and draw you a real simple diagram here. When I'm talking about balance for pictures, imagine that each picture is a teeter-totter, okay? And symmetrical balance would be exactly in the middle. If I had an even weighted image over here is over here, okay? So 2 images that are roughly even in weight. That's going to be more of a, evenly symmetrical balance. But you can have asymmetrical balance, which looks a little bit more like this. Here's an example of asymmetrical balance. I might have one tiny box out here and one giant box right here. Now that tiny box is still going to even out with this box, even though this is bigger in subject matter, and this is where the line of your picture is split. This is still going to be a valid balanced picture. Why? Because it's closer to the focal point of the center. And this is further off, but it still has a weight because of the distance. The more distance, the more leverage. Just like in physics, this has an actual leverage to it, and you can actually apply this into your drawings and paintings. People have an ability to understand that. So when I'm placing these images down, there's a balance that's occurring. Is balance always important? No. Sometimes motion is. Depending on your characters, you might find that yours is more about emphasis in one particular spot, or it's more about a sense of movement, so moving from one object to the other, or an S shape through your image. You just need to be conscious of what technique you're applying. So whether it's balance or emphasis or movement, you should have one of those 3 in this particular assignment. Okay? And for my demo today, I'm utilizing an asymmetrical balance. It has roughly even weight. Even though there's more weight on this side, this fish and this guy, they're further off in the corner. It lends itself to a kind of a leveraging balance. All right, I appreciate your attention, and move on to part 2 when you're ready.